Okay, good evening, everyone. It is
Good
now
evening.
6:08 p.m. and we are going to begin the CAB board meeting for tonight. I thank everyone for taking time out of their busy schedules to come and participate in the important work that we do together to alleviate poverty and alleviate as much of the struggles that people in New York City have by doing what we can to make a better life for all of them. So thank you for what you do. I will now ask Susie to be so kind and do the roll call.
Okay, well, thank you, Chairperson Heschel. Good evening, everyone. As the chairperson said, I'm about to call the roll. If you hear your name, please say present or indicate that you are attending this meeting. From the Office of City Council Speaker Adrian Adams, Lynette Shelbourne Barfield. Lynette. From the Office of the Mayor, Eric Adams, is there a representative from the Community Affairs Unit? Okay, from the Office of New York State Assembly Member Jeffrey Hun Aubrey, Louise Emanuel.
Present.
Good evening, Louise.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. From Boricua College, Moises Pereira or Ismael Sanchez? Representing Region 14, Brooklyn NDA 11, 13, and 15, Victoria Camarota Corto.
Hi, Susie, present.
Hi, Victoria. Good to hear you.
Great to hear you and see you.
From Region 16, Queens NDA 1, 8, and 9, Claudia Koger. Representing Region 4, Bronx NDA 7 and 8, Yesenia Cardona.
Good evening, present.
Good evening, Yesenia. Representing Region 2, Bronx NDA 3 and 4, Cynthia Cox.
Cynthia's here.
Okay.
She's
Okay.
present. She's here live.
Great to know that. Good evening, Cynthia. NAB Chairperson, Representative Manhattan and Staten Island, Ileana De La Rosa. From Office of the Staten Island Borough President, Vito J. Fasella. Is there a representative? From Doc Go, Second Vice Chairperson, Gregory Hambrick.
Present. Good to see you, Susie.
Good to see you, Greg. From Office of the Bronx Borough President, Vanessa Gibson, is there a representative? Representing Region 11, Brooklyn NDA 7, 10, and 12, Chairperson Isaac Heschel.
Present.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good. Representing the Office of Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine, Marielle Ali.
Present.
Good evening, Marielle. Representing Region 15, Brooklyn NDA 14 and 17, Parliamentarian Rhonda Joseph. Okay. Representing Region 12, Brooklyn NDA 3, 8, and 9, Wayne King.
Present.
Good evening, Wayne.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hi, Susie. I believe Rhonda Joseph just joined, by the way.
Okay, great. Good evening, Rhonda Joseph.
Good evening.
Glad you're here. Representing Region 17, Queens 3, 4, and 7, Paul Mai.
Good evening.
Good evening, Paul. Representing Morris Heights Health Center, Gideon Dunkley.
Present.
Good
Sorry-
evening, Gideon.
Sorry for the delay.
No worries.
Multitasking.
Glad you're here as well.
Thank you so much.
Representing
Appreciate it.
representing Neighborhood Housing Services of Staten Island, Joseph Pierre.
Yeah, present.
Good evening, Joseph.
Good afternoon.
Oh. Representing Region 10, Brooklyn 1, 2, and 4, Calebis Pena. I hope I didn't mispronounce the name. Okay. Representing Office of Brooklyn Borough President Antonia Reynoso, Donovan Swanson.
Here.
Welcome, Donovan. Representing the Office of Queensborough President Donovan Richards, myself, Secretary Susie Tannenbaum. Representing Region 8, Manhattan 9 and 12, Jackie Rowe Adams.
Jackie is here. Hello,
Good
everybody.
Good evening, Jackie. Representing St. Francis College, Robert Oliva, or Tirani Street. Okay. Representing the Office of New York City Comptroller Brad Lander, Artierson Ortiz. Okay. Representing Region 9, Manhattan 10 and 11, Derek Tate. Representing Region 13, Brooklyn NDA 5 and 16, Christopher Toomer.
Present.
Good evening, Christopher.
Good evening.
Representing UJA Federation of Jewish Philanthropies, third Vice Chairperson Ariel Savrensky.
Here.
Good evening, Ariel.
Good evening.
Representing United Neighborhood Houses, Nora Moran or Tara Klein. Representing UPS, Janet Dlugos or Brian Clark. Representing Region 19, Staten Island 1, First Vice Chairperson Linda Walters. Is Linda here? Representing Region 7, Bronx 9, Justin Westbrook Lowry.
Present.
Good evening, Justin. And representing the Office of the New York City Public Advocate, Jumani Williams, Elizabeth Kennedy. And that is the role, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Susie. Somebody just joined. Ileana De La Rosa just joined. And then somebody called in on a cell phone, if they can be so kind and identify themselves.
Claudia Koger.
Okay.
We have quorum. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yay.
I'm sorry, Ileana De La Rosa just joined. I was in the incorrect Zoom meeting. My apologies.
No problem. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you.
My pleasure as well.
It gives me now great pleasure to ask our distinguished, the Honorable Commissioner Keith S. Howard
Pena?
to deliver his report. Commissioner?
So thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. Good morning. Good morning. Good evening. That's how of a long day I've had. Okay, so good evening. Welcome to all of our dedicated and committed CAB members, and thank you so much for joining us today. I definitely hope one day we can all meet in person. But the hybrid seems to work because we got quorum, which is good. But I definitely look forward for us to meeting, in person and having a full-fledged meeting. I want to first want to express, our appreciation for the efforts that you make every day to bring much needed resources to our communities and to help DYCD achieve its mission of elevating the effects of poverty. I look forward to working with you closely to strengthen our work, as I have told our team, led by Deputy Commissioner Mike Bobbitt. One of my priorities is definitely shining the light and having more exposure in every aspect, and even in a bigger way, on the Community Development Unit and CAB and the work that we do, because I don't feel that this part of DYCD's house is seen as the same as our summer youth employment programs and some of our other programs like Saturday Night Lights and Summer Rising. The work that we do and the program and the amazing community-based organizations, which I now have coined as partners, are doing amazing work. And I want to make sure that not only the city of New York, but even outside of the city, and both on the state level and outside of New York State, they understand the work that we are doing. I know we got an opportunity to have a showcase when we had NCAP come into New York City, where DYCD was honored to be a co-host. And I think that if we take, what efforts were done and the great job that we all did collectively, especially Mike Bobbitt and Ron and the whole team, I think that we can show the country what it means to run a valuable and vital program. That means expanding the hard work already being done by leaning into what Mayor Adams liked to call cross-pollinating and also leveraging community partnership and resources in every way possible. What that also means is sharing and understanding what DYCD's priority actually are. First and foremost, we have to fill the open seats on the CAB. Program staff, though, is working with our Intergov Affairs unit to have the mayoral appointees seated on the CAB so that we can have more representation, which is very, very important. Also, DYCD recently hosted an information session for elected public officials and their staff who have seats on the NAB. We were pleased that Youth Services Chair and Council Member Stevens, as well as Council Member Hudson, joined us to discuss these important duties. Having the tie-in, from our elected officials, and I appreciate those who are on, representing the elected officials on this meeting today, just shows how important that this meeting and what we do and conducting our business actually is. The 2022 Community Needs Assessment. The Community Needs Assessment, the CNA, is well underway with the online and paper survey in wide circulation across the city. Speakers of English as well as Arabic, Chinese, French, Haitian, Creole, Korean, Polish, Russian, all of the languages can all participate in filling out the survey, which is definitely a good thing that we've highlighted moving forward in our surveys. again, inclusiveness is all about what we do at DYCD and what the mayor actually expects of us. 31 public hearings have been held so far across the 41 neighborhood development areas. Each public hearing has been a hybrid meeting. Anyone comfortable entering an indoor space can join us and testify, while anyone who has concerns, whether about COVID-19 or other issues, can log on virtually and still testify. With over 18,000 surveys collected to date, we have greatly exceeded the number collected in any previous CNA year. That said, we're going to keep collecting surveys through the end of the year. I believe that the highest that we've done pre-COVID was 13,000. So to be at 18,000 in November, knowing that we have a couple of weeks left before the end of the year, I am hoping and anticipating that we can just go beyond and hit the low to high 20,000s. So I just want to thank the staff at DYCD and of course the members, for just getting the word out and helping us at least achieve this record number, 18,000 surveys. We have enlisted the support of our other sister agencies, including the Department of Aging, Consumer Affairs and Workers Protection, Department of Education, Department of Social Services, HRA being part of that, DHS being part of that, probations, Veteran Affairs, as well as the Mayor's Office of Gender Equity and the Mayor's Office to End Gender-Based and Domestic Violence as part of our efforts to get the word out on our surveys. And our sister agencies did a Herculean effort in making sure that the surveys are circulated. And this is all part of the mayor's vision in making sure that city agencies work out of their silos. And I can say resoundingly that that is happening. Our sister agencies have joined the NAB members and your efforts to collect surveys at high visible events, such as National Night Out Against Crime and NYPD street event. The National Night Out was a extremely success. Our DYCD team across the board was out there. I was out there just collecting signatures. So again, across the board, and kudos to all of us who have and continue to collect these surveys. I want to again thank the CAB members for helping identify additional opportunities to collect the surveys as well. As an illustration, I acknowledge my old friend, Jackie Rowe Adams, for arranging for our team to support her and the recent Harlem Mothers Save 7th Annual National Remembrance Gathering. If you know Jackie Rowe, like I know Jackie Rowe, and I know she's on and she's probably embarrassed right now. She's all about getting the work done. So thank you again, Jackie.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
And you
And
know I
thank you
love
for
you and I
making-
appreciate you.
Back to you.
Okay, let's keep up the great work.
Yes.
NDA, the new NDA request for proposal update. The new NDA programs were launched in July. We now have NDA specific brochures that list all the program types funded in each of the NDAS. For various reasons, there were NDA RFPs competitions without an award. I've gotten several letters, not very nice letters, but several letters because the competition and the awards wasn't awarded. In September, DYCD reissued some of the RFPs for those NDAs, which included healthy families, high school, immigrant services, applications assistance, immigrant services, ESOL, civics, safety, and awareness. Those proposals are being reviewed, and we will be looking for services to begin at the start of 2023. Our literacy concept paper and request for proposals, DYCD is getting ready to issue its concept paper for adult literacy and adolescents literacy services. One of the strong points and one of the components that the mayor was very firm about moving forward with all of our RFPs, regardless of what the program areas are, is to make sure that each program has mental health and trauma connected to it because of the state of affairs that we're dealing with in a real way. So you're going to hear, you're going to see, our RFPs, which will include languages that require the partner organization that is awarded to have a mental health requirement and component, either an in-person clinician or a referral services that is credible. We look forward to presenting a more robust model that better supports the educational and non-educational impact of such programs with stronger ties to mental health resources. I have placed emphasis on these concerns across the board at DYCD, and again, it's one of the mayor's instructions to me as commissioner. Our Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act, we owe a concept paper. We anticipate in 2023 releasing the concept paper in support of our federally funded Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, our WIOA, our out of school train and earn, and in-school youth learn and earn programs. This will support holistic program models that will strengthen New York City's workforce development system and help people gain the support, educational credentials, and skills needed to succeed in today's economy, which is extremely important. We also are going to be issuing our technical assistant RFP. The technical assistant RFP is scheduled to be released by year's end. And one of the components that will be part of that is to provide capacity building to support and to raise and sustain the quality of DYCD's funded direct services for the benefit of the program participant. It's very, very important as we're introducing new community-based organizations, especially those small organizations, those emerging organizations, to make sure that they have and build their capacity on all levels. So our technical assistant RFP and the awards and whoever we awarded to has to have the strength and the emotional intelligence, in addition to the cultural sensitivity to work with our groups, our CBO networks, to ensure that they are successful in their services. Developing solutions to DYCD contracting backlog, we have engaged an MWBE vendor that is looking at policies that's looking across the board with DYCD to map and analyze DYCD's end-to-end contracting process. This is one of the things that Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright instructed me to do. And it ties into the backlog that we were facing, back in the summer. And I can happily say that our ACO unit, our SWAT team, did an amazing job, along with now our community development unit, in making sure that the contracts are getting pushed out in a quick fashion. But the vendor that we've hired to even streamline more of our contracts, we are hoping that we're going to see a more better outcome. So look forward for that, to make sure that the burdens and fiscal barriers that were once put in place are now put to the side, and that DYCD is going to be working in a real way to ensure that community-based organizations are getting their awards quicker and faster, and eliminating the paper process as best as we could. In addition, we're experimenting with a pilot program with one of our state funds, which, and that pilot program is allocating 50% advance on base contracts. So we're trying to make sure, we want to see exactly where that goes before we roll it out in a big and larger way, because that also has complexities as well. So again, DYCD, in our contracting process, you're going to see changes that are going to affect, our community-based organizations in more positive ways. We're going to be instituting what we call DYCD, one DYCD community stat. As the mayor has charged all city agencies to do a similar comp stat, we decided that we were going to do one at DYCD, and the name of it is One DYCD Community Stat. Over the past 8 years, DYCD has made substantial investments in its systems to streamline data collection and standardize what it is collecting. As a result, the agency has moved from multiple data systems with varied structures to DYCD Connect, which integrates both an evaluation and monitoring system, EMS, and a participant tracking system, PTS. Programs now use the EMS systems to standardize universal indicators tailored to program models, and use PTS to allow similar information to be collected and more streamlining analysis than in the past. It is vitally important that we build on this progress. DYCD was recently approved for a capital investment for a business intelligence and reporting system called BIR, which will create a data warehouse. This will further integrate data collection across the agency and develop a series of dashboards for easy accessibility and translation of our data into actionable recommendation. I have charged all units to identify data specialists who will work with our IT unit to identify and build dashboards and other mechanisms so that the DYCD team can review and make use of the data we collected. It is vitally important as an agency, in addition to as you as members, to really look at in a real way, what is our return on investment to ensure that the services that we are providing, that there are real measurable outcomes in real ways. So the whole streamlining process, the investment that we're doing in One DYCD Community Stat will give us real tools to look at our investments and to adapt or tweak, services if we need to ensure that the people who are supposed to be getting the services are actually getting the services, and it's changing lives. Building bridges. This year we are enhancing building bridges to provide technical assistance to nonprofit organizations and show them how they can grow through contracting with city government. At town hall meetings that I've had with the mayor and the deputy mayor and my fellow commissioners, there are always conversations from community-based organizations who are not part of our network, inquiring how do they become part of our network. We're going to be integrating small organizations, faith-based organizations, fraternities and sororities into our network. And in integration, we know that they need to understand the contracting process with city government. So building bridges has always been an integral part of DYCD's profile, and I have heard nothing but positive outcomes from those organizations who have actually been part of the building bridges workshops. Though targeted outcomes to faith-based organizations and smaller community organizations, the Mayor's Office of Faith-Based and Community Partnership has been our ally and our partner in helping DYCD improve outreach to this group. Again, I just want to say that you're going to be seeing some real structural changes as we move forward in all program areas and streamlining contracting process and streamlining the RFP process and innovation and collecting data and reviewing dashboard reports and some other initiatives that I know Mike Bobbin and his team will be rolling out, and some bold initiatives in terms of fatherhood initiatives that we had talked about creating and having, an event that like no other in New York City. I also want to say, as we're cross-pollinating programs, next year is going to be the 60th anniversary of Summer Youth Employment Program, which we're going to be celebrating in a real way. Again, talking about cross-pollination. In addition, the mayor is rolling out in August the 50th anniversary of hip hop, which DYCD will be intimately involved, and hopefully the CAB members will as well. I want to also take this time, Chair, to invite you and the CAB members to our holiday party in real celebration this year, which is going to be Friday, December 16th. I will make sure that you get invites to it. Hopefully you can attend. I just want to thank you as I finish up the commissioner's report. I want to wish everybody a happy evening and safe travels home or wherever you're at. God bless. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that report. We thank you for the work you're doing and the leadership that you are providing. So thank you very much, Commissioner. Does anyone have any questions for the Commissioner before we vote on accepting the Commissioner's report?
Gideon Dunkley, I do.
Just a moment, Gideon. I'm going to ask the Commissioner to come over so you could give him the question.
Yes.
Hello, Commissioner.
Hi.
Congratulations. Thank you for that very comprehensive report. Really appreciate it. It was very thorough and in-depth.
Well, thank you.
So my question to you is, since you're looking at the homelessness and the Department of Health and mental health part of it, are you going to partner with the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, because they have a lot of information that they can share with DYCD?
Absolutely. In fact, I think we have a scheduled meeting with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene in the next couple of weeks to talk how we can connect and work in several ways. Absolutely.
Okay, my second question is, since you're doing this building bridges process, would it be possible to create a process where you could create workshops whereby small businesses can come and learn the process of putting in applications so that they can be qualified for some of these monies and funds that are available?
So our building bridges actually does that. You know, it actually creates these workshops and it goes and talks to small business organizations about how they can be part of the contracting process. So we do that in twofold. We do it with the vendors, and we also do it with the nonprofit organizations as well.
Okay, so is that an ongoing process or is that just a one-time? Is there a schedule? Is it
There-
online?
there-
Where can you find the information?
There is a schedule. It is a process. It's ongoing, and we can make sure that the CAB members, including yourself, get the dates of building bridges so you can circulate it.
Yeah, that's something that I'd like to share with the community and others.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And again, thank you for your very comprehensive report. And I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
And you as well.
Thank you.
Liz? Okay.
Thanks again, Commissioner. I will now entertain a motion to accept the commissioner's report.
So move, Gideon Dunkley.
Gideon, thank you. Seconded by
Second by Greg Hamburg.
Greg. Thank you for the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any nays? Anyone abstaining? So moved. Thank you. It now gives me great pleasure to recognize Donovan Swanson as the new representative for the Brooklyn Borough President, Antonio Reynoso. I will read the correspondence. Dear Mr. Heschel and Ms. Antonetti, pursuant to Article 3, Section 1B of Community Action Board bylaws for the City of New York, I am designating Donovan Swanson, Education Engagement Policy Analyst, on my staff as my representative at the Community Action Board meetings to replace my previous designee, Ms. Astrid Kors. Donovan may be reached by email or by telephone. Numbers and email are provided. Thank you for your courtesy in the matter. Sincerely, Antonio Reynoso, Brooklyn Borough President. Donovan, if you would like to address us as we welcome you to the CAB, it would be a pleasure to hear from you.
Sure. So again, thank you everyone for having me. I'm happy to be on board. As the letter states, I'm also a staff member with the primary role of education. So I'm happy to join you all. I'm also very familiar with DYCD as I was a former community school director and operated a Compass site. So very much familiar with on the ground, literally went from operating a summarizing site to coming on board with the Brooklyn Borough President's Office. So I'm happy to be on board and look forward to kind of joining in and supporting in any of the work being done here.
Thank you, Donovan. I will now entertain a motion to recognize and accept Donovan Swanson as the representative.
So moved by Joseph Pierre.
Seconded by
Gideon Dunkley.
Gideon, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any
Welcome,
nays?
Donovan.
Anyone abstaining? So moved.
Thank you, everyone.
Welcome.
It's a pleasure to have you, sir. We will now accept the minutes of the previous CAB meeting, which was September 8th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept, Chris Toomer.
Thank you. Seconded by
Gideon
Joseph.
Dunkley.
Gideon, thank you for the second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Nay. Anyone abstaining? So moved. Amy Kolar is in attendance. I guess not. Amy, are you with us? Okay. Moving on. I will now ask Artis Sanmugan, the Senior Budget Director, to present the financial program quarterly report. Artis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, all. First, I'd like to apologize for not being there in person. I recently contracted COVID, and though I'm feeling better, I'm still testing positive. So I'm able to do this presentation without my mask here in my office. So I'm very sorry that I can't join you. And going forward, as we continue to have more hybrid or in-person meetings, I will be there. I will now share my screen and make the presentation. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Good evening again. Welcome to the new member, Donovan. I'm going to give a much more detailed overview since this is the first time you are seeing this. In city fiscal year 22, the CSBG budget is $36.2 million. The CSBG budget is allocated over three main areas: our program contracts, other contractual services, and personal services, or DYCD staff. The program contracts receive the bulk of CSBG funding. In total, it's $28.9 million, and that represents 80% of the overall budget. It's divided up into a number of different program areas. The NDA development group, which has 8 separate sub programs, has a budget of $16.1 million, and that represents 56% of the program budget. The next highest number is the CSBG portion of the SYP program, and that's coming in at just under $6 million. The fatherhood program is at $2.8 million budgeted. The HRA legal services intra-city we have with our sister agency HRA comes in at $2.1 million. The other programs that are somewhat smaller are the Immigration Refugee Assistance Program coming in at $590,000. The NYCALI, or the New York City Adult Literacy Initiative, coming in at just over $500,000. And the Adolescent Literacy Program coming in at $827,000. And as I said before, the sum of these programs represent 80% of the budget. I'm going to talk about the spending for the program contracts before I move on to the next. Our data is as of November 1st, and that only includes expenses through September because our providers submit their expenses for the previous month as of the 10th of the following month. So because we ran this before the 10th, we're only reporting on expenses through September. The NDA group has a spending, has spent 6% of their budget so far. This SYP program, because it's really just a 2-month program when we pay the bulk of our CSBG expenses, has a 100% spending rate of this nearly $6 million. Rounding out the others are, again, the Fatherhood Initiative, which has spent at 16% to date. The NYCALI, with $91,000, has spent 18%. Immigration Refugee Assistance with $66,000 is 11% of their budget. We haven't received any expenses from our HRA legal services contract to date, but we have sent out a reminder letting them know that we expect to receive their first quarter invoice as soon as possible. Overall, the program contracts has expenses of $7.5 million, and that represents 26% of the program contracts. Our payments to date, you will notice, are higher than our expenses at $11.4 million. And the reason is that DYCD awards our providers an advance at the start of the year. Currently, for providers who are interested in advance, we give them 25% of their contracts. So that's the explanation for why, even though our expenses are only $7.5 million, the monies we have paid out is higher at $11.4 million. DYCD starts to recoup these advances starting in January. And by end of June, when we have our June meeting, you'll notice that expenses and payments are exactly the same because we would have recouped the advances and expenses and payments will be the same. But payments to date are 40% of the program contracts, and it's $11.4 million. So the balance to be vouchered is $17.5 million. We have quite a few lines in the other contractual services section. The bulk of the funding there is for technical assistance to our CBOs in the program contract section. We have budgeted $1.6 million in city fiscal year 23, and to date we have expenses of about $76,000. The other areas that are large, fairly large, is our fiscal field reviews, where CSBG funds require the DYCD engage a vendor, an auditor, to do fiscal field reviews to ensure that our CBOs are following the rules and regulations of the grant. The next highest number is our Central Insurance Program. Quite a few of our CBOs are fairly small and don't have the capacity to buy their own insurance. So they participate in the citywide insurance program. And that's what that $132,000 represents. The other areas are our AOTPS. We have earmarked funds for marketing, for publications, printing, and subscription, employee development, recruitment, travel, technology, and of course, board development and stipends. To date, with a budget of $2.2 million, we have expenses and payments of $91,000. I just want to note that we do not make advance payments to our vendors, and other contractual services are viewed as vendors, whereas our program contracts are viewed as subrecipients. So payments and expenses is currently at 4%. For DYCD personnel services, we have a budget of $5.2 million. To date, expenses are $1.2 million, and that represents 24%. So overall, with a budget of $36.2 million, expenses are 24% of the budget at $8.8 million, and payments are at 12.7, which represents 35% of the overall award. I'm now going to look at the comparison of where we are compared to the last meeting. As the chair mentioned, our last meeting was 8th of September. And at that point in time, we had expenses of only $288,000. That's because the year had just started. Providers were ramping up. They had received their advances, but they hadn't submitted invoices as yet. Year-to-date expenses, as you can see, is much higher at 8.8%. From a payments perspective, we had paid out $2.9 million in September. As of now, we have $12.7 million, which is pretty significant. And as I always say when I do these presentations, the CSBG portfolio will, as they've always done, spend at about a 96 to 98% rate. So even though these numbers, folks might think it's pretty low at this point in time, this is very normal for providers. They are pretty slow in submitting for the first half of the year, and then we see it ramp up towards the end of the year. So based on our historical analyses, we're quite confident that we'll have a spending rate in the 96 to 98%. That is the financial report. I'm happy to answer any questions folks have.
Any questions for Artis?
Gideon Dunkley, I do.
Go ahead.
Artis, just
Hi,
a quick
Gideon.
question. Good evening, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Feeling better?
I'm feeling a lot better, thank you.
Okay, well, it's good to see you. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you. You too.
My question is, what is the turnaround time from the time you receive an invoice to the time a check is cut? How long does it take?
It's a
In other
great
words,
question.
what's the days in accounts payable?
That's a great question. And I know the DYCD won an award a few years ago for being really fast at turning this around. The city regs require that we make a payment once an invoice has been submitted at the maximum 5 days after the invoice has been submitted. I don't actually work in the payment system myself, but I do know that DYCD has received awards for this in the past. But if you'd like, I can talk to our payments accounts payable folks and pass that information on to Anita and folks so that you can have it.
I appreciate that. So is it on a net 30-day or a net 230?
It's on 5 days after we receive the invoice.
All right.
5 business days, I should say.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions? Susie, you have a raised hand.
I couldn't disappoint.
I'm thankful for that, Susie.
First, I just want to say speedy recovery.
Thank you
And
so much.
I'm very impressed that you're able to make this presentation while you're dealing with these.
I feel a lot better. For some reason, I
Yeah.
don't know why I'm still testing positive.
Okay. Good, I'm glad you feel better. This is a question that is kind of an ongoing question, but as we all know, there are approximately 18,000 asylum seekers who have moved, who have been brought to New York and are now being integrated into life in the city. And I'm just wondering whether any additional revenue has been added to this year's budget to reflect the fact that these individuals, adults and children also need these types of services.
That's actually a great question. I know that the mayor has reached out to city agencies to see where these folks are, whether they're showing up in the DYCD programs that they serve. Again, I don't have that answer, but I know that there have been conversations about it. No CSBG dollars has been spent on that because these are federal funds, and federal law require that federal funds can only be spent on legal immigrants to the states, to the United States. But I know that the mayor has been talking to, I don't know that personally, I've read and I've heard through my colleagues that the mayor and commissioners have been reaching out to state funding agencies and just also looking at what city tax levy they have available for that. Again, we can gather some information and get it back to you.
Okay, thank you. That is very interesting because of course we also have many undocumented immigrants.
I know, and but
So
unfortunately,
it's very interesting to hear that technically this funding can only be used for people with legal status.
yes, all federal funds has to meet that criteria.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Donovan.
Hi, thank you. So I just had a technical question just because it's also, you know, City Council's had several hearings on it. It's kind of come up. And I understand this is specific to CSBG. And I'm assuming that there's a kind of clear divide here. But as far as COVID relief funding for some of these same programs that these grants are supplementing, has there been any kind of mix of commingling, or just naturally there's a need also to rely on some COVID relief funds to support some of these programs?
DYCD has received quite a bit of stimulus funding based on the coronavirus. CSBG actually received, there was a special CSBG bucket, which I will talk about when I talk about the single audit we just experienced. But in 2021, federal fiscal year 2021, DYCD received nearly $46 million of stimulus funds that's just CSBG, called the CSBG CARES funds. DYCD has also received funding in the ARPA bucket and also in the CVR, coronavirus relief funding. In 2021, we received about $96 million. In 2022, it was about $50 million, and we have in our budget through 2025 smaller amounts. So DYCD has received significant funds, significant amount of these funds that have been able to supplement our budget.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Artis, I think there's another report that you want to.
Yes, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen just because I need to read it, and the lawyer says that I need to read it word for word. So I'm making this presentation on behalf of Bill Kamen, our external review senior director. So I'm going to read this. For city fiscal year 2021, the City of New York's accounting firm, Grant Thornton, performed its annual single audit that includes various federal funded programs for New York City governmental agencies. For city fiscal year 21, both DYCD's regular CSBG funded program and a one-time unique New York City program called Learning Labs were audited. The Learning Labs program utilized as a portion of its funding a supplemental federal funding source made available under COVID-19 legislation called the CSBG CARES Act. While there were no audit findings for the regular CSBG funding programs, there was an audit finding for the CSBG CARES funded Learning Labs program that only existed for a one-year period from September 2020 through June 2021. Since the Learning Labs program was designed to provide free daycare services for children on days they were scheduled for remote learning in response to the COVID-19 emergency, and there were no income restrictions to participate in this program, there were some participants who did not provide income documentation that was required to utilize the CARES funding. A challenge in utilizing the CARES Funding Act was attributable to the city requiring DYCD to utilize CSBG funds, CSBG CARES funding after the program had started and while participants were being enrolled on a rolling admissions basis. This required DYCD to revise its enrollment application by including an attestation of low income for participants to be eligible for the use of CSBG funding. During the audit, the auditor selected 40 individuals who were charged with the CSBG CARES funding and found the following. One of the households had an income attestation that was over the 200% of the poverty guidelines and was incorrectly classified as low income, resulting in being incorrectly included in the calculation for related expenditures for the CSBG CARES Act funding. DYCD did not maintain income information for 4 of the households of the individuals selected for testing, and was not able to demonstrate that those participants qualified for eligible CSBG CARES Act funding. DYCD was unable to provide documentation to support that a review and approval of the income eligibility was performed. Consequently, DYCD provided a detailed response that is listed under the heading Views of a Responsible Official that identified appropriate internal controls that exist for the regular CSBG funded program and indicated that there will be stronger internal controls to be implemented in any future programs. And that ends the report.
Thank you very much. Artis, as always, we thank you for the outstanding reports you provide, and especially how difficult it must have been with you not feeling well. On behalf of everyone,
thank you so much,
we
Mr.
wish
Chair.
you the very best.
I appreciate
And
that.
a complete recovery.
I appreciate that. And happy Thanksgiving to all.
Thank you.
Have a good
I
evening.
will now entertain a motion to accept
Motion, Jackie Rowe Adams.
Jackie Rowe Adams. Thank you. Seconded by
Gideon Dunkley.
Gideon Dunkley. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any nays? Anyone abstaining? So moved. Linda is not with us this evening. Anita?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
it's Gideon Dunkley.
Yes, Mr. Dunkley.
I am actually dropping off at this point. I have another meeting to attend in the Bronx. And I'm running late for that meeting, so please forgive me and please excuse me. Appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure seeing you and having you participate in our meetings. So thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a great holiday, and hopefully we see you at one of the parties. God bless you. Thank you for what you do.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you. Thank you all. Happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you. Bye.
I will now ask Anita to be so gracious and give us the governance report. Anita?
Hello, everyone. Okay, the governance committee met on Wednesday, October 26th, and the detailed minutes are in your board packet. They talked about the CAB vacancies, the public sector. There are 5 vacancies. Intergovernmental Affairs Unit is working to have the mayor appoint 5 appointees and send his representative to come to the CAB meeting. The Staten Island Borough President also needs to send a representative to the CAB meeting. And then the low income sector, there are 4 vacancies for regional representatives. All are in the process of a candidate search. Staff is looking to get former members to become candidates. NAB chairperson representative for Bronx Queens is still vacant and is in the process of a candidate search. Region 10, NDA Brooklyn 1, 2, and 4 is in the process of an election, and I can say that that election is completed. Clevis Pena, who is a longtime NAB member of Brooklyn 1, is now the representative. She was unable to make the meeting today. She had a family emergency, but she will come to the January meeting and be recognized by the CAB. CAB attendance. According to the bylaws, each member is allowed 1 excused absence for the program year. As of the November meeting, absences will be counted. The program year starts in September and ends in June. CAB officers. The terms for all CAB officers will end after the June 22nd, 2023 meeting. In January, at the January meeting, January 26th of 2023, the governance committee will ask the full board to consider and submit nominations. The governance committee will submit a slate of candidates at the April 20th meeting, and the full board will accept nominations from the floor and then vote for officers at the June 22nd meeting, 2023, that is. So it's upcoming, and I would suggest anybody who's considering running for an office, please do so. We will get a description of the offices and the duty for each officer to you before the next meeting. Okay. The meeting was adjourned, and then the CAB member orientation followed, and 2 new members attended, Ms. Mariella Ali from the Manhattan Borough President's Office and Mr. Donovan Swanson from the Brooklyn Borough President's Office attended. So that was a good meeting, a good long meeting, and that's the report for the governance committee.
Anita, thank you very much. We will now entertain a motion to accept the governance committee report.
Motion
moved. Yeah.
second by Ariel.
Second by Ariel. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any nays? Anyone abstaining? So moved. I will now ask our second vice chair, the Honorable Greg Hambrick, to be so gracious and present the program committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is well. Donovan, welcome to the CAB. Look forward to working with you. So the program committee met on Wednesday, October 19th. Our presentation was from Jose Jimenez, who's the program supervisor for Catholic Charities Community Services of New York. They offer a variety of social, economic, educational, and support services for families in the Bronx, Washington Heights, and Harlem area. Everything from educational services, getting household items, rent assistance, food service, and so forth. He spent a lot of time talking about how troublesome it has been for the program for a couple of reasons. Obviously, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, he wasn't able to serve residents as much as he was able to. And a lot of the people that he was previously servicing, unfortunately, had passed away from COVID-19. So he's certainly looking for an opportunity to really promote the services, again, to really ramp up awareness, to be able to offer these variety of services. There was a question and answer session. I know that Susie brought up the migrant population. He did talk about the organization being able to open up food pantries to assist those immigrants coming into the city. So that's been a big part of the program as well. Old business focused on the community needs assessment, which is the common theme. And then we adjourned the meeting at 6:37 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Greg. We will now entertain a motion to accept the program committee report.
So moved, Joseph Pierre.
Thank you. Seconded by?
Seconded by Susie.
Susie, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anyone abstaining? So moved. It gives me great pleasure to ask Ariel Savramsky to give the Strategic Partnership Committee report. Ariel?
Thank you. So we met on Thursday, October 20th. We talked about the NAB membership and recruitment. I know Anita touched on that in the governance committee report, so I won't go into that much detail. But I'll just say that there was a DYCD Intergovernmental Affairs info session that was supposed to be held on Tuesday, November 1st with DYCD staff and city council staff to recruit for the board. We also talked about a number of other strategies that we could employ in the coming weeks and months, going to the borough presidents, especially with the community board appointments that we're expecting in February. If people are not appointed to their community board but have expressed interest in that kind of appointment, then they would be great candidates for NABs and to participate in our work. We also talked about CEC meetings for parents to be part of the NABs, and then a few other strategies. We talked about the community needs assessment that has been brought up a number of times. I know when we spoke at our meeting, there were only 13,000 surveys that had been returned, and I know now we're up to about 16,000. So I think that's just really speaks to the great work that you all are doing and that DYCD is doing to get the surveys out. We talked about sharing the needs assessment in different languages, and also the toolkit and flyers that I know you all have received a number of times from DYCD. We talked about the NDA 2021, those contracts went out and they began July 1st, 2022. I know some of you were involved in selecting who was awarded. So great to know that the contracts have been awarded and the programming has started. And that was it.
Thank you, Ariel. Much appreciated. We'll now entertain a motion to accept the report.
Jackie,
Motion,
Jackie Rowe Adams, seconded by
Ileana De La Rosa.
Ileana De La Rosa. Thank you for the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any nays? Anyone abstaining? So moved. I will now ask the Senior Director of Community Action Programs and NDA Initiatives, Ebony Jordan Wilson, to present the annual report on CSBG funding and programs. Ebony?
Perfect. All right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. And all right, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Chair. I'm going to go over the fiscal year 2022, all of the program enrollment and outcome information, as mentioned throughout tonight's meeting. So this fiscal year 22 was the last year of our previous NDA RFP from 2016. Okay, all right. And I'm going to make one correction. You'll get this presentation in the next meeting's package. One correction on this presentation is that for fiscal year 2022, I think in the presentation, it says 34 million. And so as Artis mentioned tonight, the total funding for CSBG was $36.2 million. And so in fiscal year 22, we had 205 CSBG contracts. Okay. So New York State Department of State permits DYCD to report by our city fiscal year instead of by the federal fiscal year. So this enables us to align DYCD's budget year and the program reporting year. All right. So let's start out with NDA High School. So for fiscal year 22, the projected enrollment was 1,356, and we rounded out at 90% enrolling 1,215 high school students. The outcomes came in at 52%. The projection was 893, and actually 467 young people made an academic achievement. NDA Opportunity Youth, which is one of our program areas that we didn't fund in this new RFP. And typically DYCD has a lot of funding in our workforce programs. So when we transitioned out, we made sure that those young people connected to that program were referred to our other workforce programs. So the end of fiscal year, oh, I moved that, sorry. The end of fiscal year 22 for OY, why is it not going back? Okay, there we go. One more time. Sorry about that. Okay. For Opportunity Youth, we achieved 87% enrollment, 44% outcomes. Okay, and that program was for young people ages 16 to 24, not currently working or in school. And then we had NDA Housing, which is folded under the Healthy Families umbrella for the new RFP. So last year we ended at 75% enrollment, 67% outcomes. Healthy Families, which is the program area that was really stretched and utilized the most during the pandemic. So as you can see, 105% enrollment, 123% outcomes. Typically, there's always a need for that program area. It's always kind of flourished and, you know, has always needed additional resources because that's all about entitlements. And during the pandemic, these programs were helping people apply for unemployment, seeking housing services. They assist with applying for Social Security. So many different benefits and services. And during the pandemic, that definitely increased it. Our program saw an influx of people. They were serving them online, over the phone. So definitely they were stretched really, really thin, but they did a lot of great work during the pandemic and definitely continues now. So housing, NDA Housing is not one of the programs as a standalone program with the new RFP. It folded under the Healthy Families umbrella. So we still have under Healthy Families, they do housing services, avoiding eviction, all of the activities that were done under the NDA Housing standalone program. NDA Seniors. So in fiscal year 22, the programs achieved 87% enrollment, 89% of seniors actually received benefits and services, and 90% participated in some form of physical and social well-being. So a lot of the senior programs pivoted to doing dance classes online. Once the senior centers opened, they also were able to do some hybrid programming where the seniors that wanted to come out and participate in person, they were able to, as well as having the virtual option for seniors to participate from home. Okay, NDA Adult Literacy. So there was 81% enrollment. 57% actually made gains on the ABE levels, and we had 45% actually achieved HSE levels. NDA Immigrant Services, so we had 82% enrollment and rounded out at 82% actually filed papers for legal status. Comprehensive Services for Families achieved 93% enrollment, 74% achieved self-advocacy skills. Immigrant Legal Services, legal assistance. So 81% enrollment and 93% outcomes, which is they actually apply for US citizenship and residency. And we have Immigrant Legal Services for immigrant youth. And so this program area achieved 85% enrollment and 55% actually filed papers for juvenile legal status. Immigrant Legal Services Domestic Violence, enrollment 102% and actual benefits and services 106%. Immigrant Legal Services, immigrant workers achieved 108% enrollment and 97% was able to resolve workplace issues. Adolescent Literacy achieved 90% enrollment and 62% outcomes where they were actually achieved educational outcomes, okay? Adult Literacy ESOL, 99% enrollment and 103% achieved educational outcomes. Fatherhood Initiative. So 100% enrollment was achieved and 129% of the fathers actually increased emotional and financial engagement. For the Summer Youth Employment Program, the CSBG investment is 3,500 young people, so they achieved 100% enrollment and 106% actually obtained the SYP job and completed the program. And I think that ends my presentation. Yes. Any questions? All right. Thank you all so much and have a happy holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ebony, for that wonderful presentation. We thank you for the outstanding work you do. I'll now entertain a motion to accept.
Motion, Victoria Camerata Curto.
Victoria, thank you. Seconded by
Second, Donovan Swanson.
Donovan. Thank you for the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone abstaining or any nays? So moved. Thank you. Old business. Quorum reminder. I think everyone sees how important it is, and it's imperative that we attend in order to achieve quorum so we can do our duties to assist DYCD in the outstanding work that they do. So thank you all for making sure that we have quorum and reminding you to continue the streak that we're on. Please remember to share the 2022 Community Needs Assessment Surveys with all of your networks. The deadline is December 31st. We're at 18,000 and change. And as the commissioner said, 20,000 is what they're hoping for. Perhaps we can even exceed that. So everyone should please do what they can to have people fill out the surveys. New business. Building bridges. The event is December 7th at 10 a.m. On your agenda, there is the link to joining. Excuse me?
To register.
To register to join. How faith-based organizations can access city funding. There will be a meeting on December 18th at 6 p.m. And there's also a link in your agenda how to access that information and to attend. Anita, anything further?
Well, if anybody's interested, we have paper surveys in all 12 languages, and we can get them to you if you so want them, or if you have any events that are happening that you know of, you can let us know, and we will get people to take the surveys there and try and get some more filled out. So thank you for all you're doing already.
Thank you, Anita. I want to wish all of you a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, a happy Hanukkah, a Merry Christmas, and a happy and healthy and successful new year. Once again, before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I want to thank everyone and recognize and commend DYCD staff for the outstanding work that they've done this year and will continue to do. So Anita, thank you, and thank you to all the other wonderful, talented, and devoted people at DYCD. I look forward to seeing you all at the next meeting, which will be January 26th. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Greg Hambrick, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Greg,
So-
thank you. Seconded by,
Joseph Pierre.
seconded by
Joseph Pierre.
Joseph. Thank you very much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Anyone abstaining? So moved. Thank you very much to everybody. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful new year.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good
Good night,
night.
everyone. Happy
Thank you,
holidays.
everyone. Good night.
Good night,
Happy
everyone.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Good job, everybody.